Hi everybody and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you're returning, thank you so much as always for being here. Let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting.
DIY number one. This is my inspiration photo. It's from Balsam Hill. I thought it was so pretty. So I am starting out with one of these Dollar Tree 3D wreath forms, and I had already put it together. I used it in another project a few videos ago that I decided I was going to take apart. I did remove that little gadget with all the little feet on it that helps hold the form in place. You can see that I still have it at the bottom here, but I decided to replace one end, the top end actually, with some twine just to give it a little bit more stability. I just wanted to make sure that it was going to be nice and solid and tight, and I went ahead and used some hot glue there just to make sure my knot wasn't going to come undone. So I'm showing some floral foam that I tucked in at the bottom in that little doodad that sticks up that holds the wreath form together, and I'm setting it just on this little wire bowl to help keep it from rolling around as I work with it. The greenery that I have here is from Walmart. I believe it was $2 a stem, so $1.99. And as you can see, true to form, I have cut it all apart so that I can use the individual little pieces. I'm tucking it in and around the base there. Now, it occurred to me as I was doing this that I probably should have put the lights on first. So word to the wise, after you put in the floral foam, you might want to go ahead and add your lights in. That way you're not having to contend with all of the little greenery. So I am just taking my light strands. These are also from the Dollar Tree, and I am wrapping them around my wreath form. So you can see one strand of lights, these are 3 feet long, and one strand will go completely around the circumference of one of these parts of the wreath. Now I only had 3 of them, but there are 4 circles to this wreath form, so I ended up using another type of light that I just picked up recently from the Dollar Tree, and it's got little fall leaves on it. And then I'm tucking in some of my Dollar Tree pumpkins. I thought I would try these little orange ones. They were too shiny compared to the other ones I had. So I tucked in that other little one, and this made me so happy. I have this other pick from the Hobby Lobby that I had in my stash. I think it was $2.99 originally, but I tend to always get my Hobby Lobby stuff when it's on sale at least 40% off. So I am ripping this one apart too into little pieces, and I'm tucking it in and around just where it looks pleasing to my eye. And you could use any types of greenery with this. You could use any types of pumpkins. You could use not pumpkins. You could use just other types of florals if you'd like. Whatever is going to make your heart happy. I started to use that chain that my sister had given to me from a chandelier she took down, and then decided I was going to use the Dollar Tree little hook thing. This is for a plant hanger, I believe. So one of those little plant hanging baskets. And I'm just hooking it right on to my 3D wreath, and it is good to go. DIY number 2. So I have a couple of paper towel holders from the Dollar Tree. I have a glass vase or candle holder. I think they tend to be interchangeable. We're going to use it as a candle holder today. And I just popped off the bottoms of those wreath form, or not wreath forms, my goodness, the bottoms of the paper towel holders. And you can see I'm just making sure that they go down over my glass candle holder. I'm measuring the height of this, which was about 9 inches. So I'm showing you it's 9 inches. It's also for my benefit because I tend to forget things like that when I'm doing my voiceovers. But I am measuring the circumference of my little, what will be my frame. And I'm going to cut down my lampshade paper. If you saw last week's video, you know that I created a Pearson cut lampshade, and this is going to be a similar project. I'm just measuring it all off. It's going to be a perfect rectangle basically, because my top and my bottom are going to be the same radius. So it's almost like a cylinder shape that we're creating here. So I'm cutting this down. I'm just matching up my ends, making sure that it's looking all even, and it does. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next step. So I'm taking a piece of parchment paper. You could use printer paper, whatever you want to use. I'm just measuring off where my edges are so I know how large my image can be. Now, I'm going to hand draw an image that I want to put on my little candle cover, if you will. And you don't have to hand draw something. You could create something on your computer and print it off. You could do something on Canva. You could find something in a coloring book that you could use. So use your imagination, and whatever image you come up with, you can certainly use that. I've been known to take images off of bedspreads, so just kind of traced the flower print, and used that if I wanted to match the decor in a particular room. So as I am doing this, you'll notice I am making sure that I am creating broken lines, and that is for when we go to cut this out. You don't want any of your lines to be connected more than at 3 points. Hopefully that makes sense, because if you think about it, like with a stencil, you need to make sure that your image remains intact. You don't want to end up with holes in this. So I'm going to be going through this a little bit faster than I did last week, but if you want a little bit more step-by-step detail, feel free to check out my video from last week where I did the lampshade with the sailboat, and I will leave a link in my description box for that video so you can find it easily. So now I am using my Arteza carbon paper. It's actually graphite paper, graphite paper, and I am tracing my image that I've just hand drawn onto my lampshade paper. This is the inside of the shade. Okay, and now these are just watercolors from the Dollar Tree, nothing fancy, and I'm coming in and I am going to paint over my image. You want your color to be nice and dark, and I probably didn't do it as dark as I should have here, especially considering I'm using this for a candle, which won't have as much light as a light bulb normally would. So when you paint the inside of these shades, it offers a really soft, pretty color when you turn the light on, because it shines through from the inside out. And you can always have the option of painting the outside. I tend to hesitate only because I'm not as confident with my painting skills, but I do love the way that it looks when it's painted from the inside. So you want your color to be nice and bold, understanding that it's going to soften tremendously when it's on the inside of the shade. I, again, probably did not make my colors as bold as I should have. So just a word to the wise, but you want to be careful not to get it too wet, because then you could end up impacting the paper itself, and you don't want it to bleed through to the other side of the paper either. So I'm using my little piercing tool. So all those little squiggly lines where I do have solid lines, I am just piercing little holes along the squiggle line. And you don't want your holes to get too close to each other, because you don't want anything to break through and again create that hole in your piece. These are just tiny little piercings that are going to look like that. So I've got my piece of glass. I know it looks a little bit dirty. I'm not sure if it was wax or something on the reverse of it, and I was scrubbing it for a while. It had been in my stash for years, you guys, like 30 plus years. So it's seen better days, but it's going to do the trick. Now, last week I did use my cutting mat when I cut the shade, and I was wishing that I had been using my piece of glass. I find it much easier to cut things like this on the glass. It probably does a job on my blade, probably doesn't keep it as sharp, but it works really, really well because it just kind of glides and your knife doesn't get stuck in the cutting mat. So I'm now back with my little piercing tool, and I'm using that to go in where I've cut with my craft knife, and I'm just molding the little pieces. So sticking it in there and rubbing it back and forth to lift the slits apart a little bit. And then I'll also use my fingers on some of the rounded curved edges you can see there, like with the stems and the leaves. I'm using my fingers to mold that a little bit in. You don't want to create any creases or folds, but you do want soft, gentle roundness molded into your shapes. So once I have all of that taken care of, here I'm going to show you where I do the leaves again. So I usually do the straight lines first, and then the pieces that are going to roll into the inside of the shade, I do those after. So you can see here with the little stem, I'm doing the straight edges, and then I'm going to roll that stem in. So now once I have all of that done, I am going to line it. This is a heavy tracing paper, and I got it from my friend Colby at the Lamp Shop. They're located in Concord, New Hampshire, and they just took really good care of me with all the supplies that I needed. Highly recommend them. I'll leave a link for their little shop, their website, in my description box as well, in case you're interested in checking them out. So I've used my glue, and I did leave a little bit of room with my lining because I don't want to crush my image there, so it will not lay completely flat to your image. Just keep that in mind when you do this. And then once my glue was sufficiently dried, I went ahead and trimmed off the rest of the lining paper all the way around my shade so we don't have any of that hanging over. And now I'm going to go ahead and apply it to my frames. So I'm using just regular old clothespins from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to hook my little shade onto here. So I'm going to get it all the way on just with the clothespins. So that's going to allow me to manipulate it until I have it exactly how I want it, top and bottom, before I start gluing it. So once I have the top done, I've flipped it over here, and you can see I am now doing the bottom. And I tend to start in the middle and work my way out to the edges. I just find that it gives me a little bit more control over what's happening and keeping it as tight against the frame as possible. So once I have that all hooked together and made sure that it's all nice and tight, I'm going to grab my glue and I'm going to seal up the seam here. Now this is the way you should do it, right? So if you watched last week's video, you will recall that I was trying to remember how to do all this because it's been like 35 years since I made a lampshade until last week. So it's all coming back to me now. And once I have that all set and my seam is done, I'm coming in with my glue and I am adding glue to my frame right between where the frame and the paper meet, almost like if you were caulking a bathtub. So where the tile and the tub meet, you know, you've got that little area to caulk. So doing that with the glue. Once that's completely dry, and I believe I let it sit overnight because it was late when I was doing it and it needed some time to dry. So once it's completely dry, at least probably an hour, you're going to go ahead and start applying your border ribbon. So more details on that in last week's video. But I am just applying it about a third of that edge to the shade, and then I'll roll it in after I apply a thin coat of glue to the inside of that binding tape. So once I get that all on there and smoothed out, I'm not sure why I felt the need to show you so much of this footage, so I apologize. Bear with me just a second. Here we go. Just rolling it all over and tucking it inside the shade. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So I'll just flip it over and I will do the exact same thing. And I'm not going to put you through all of that. We're going to move on in about 2 seconds here. So once I've got that done, just trim it off real close, making sure that it matches up. I do put a little bit of glue on the edge of the ribbon so that it doesn't fray. And then I am going to just seal that down, and I will tuck that all down around the frame edge the same way we did with the, I guess it was actually the bottom that I had started with. So I'm going to do the same thing with the top. And now I'm coming in with my velvet ribbon, which is a more narrow piece, and this is my finishing ribbon. And it just helps to hide any imperfections with that top ribbon. And I just think it provides a really, really pretty finished look. So just going to wrap that all the way around on the top and the bottom and trim it off as close as possible. And because it is velvet, it does help to kind of create a seal, if you will. Not a seal, but it matches up with the other end really pretty nicely, and it's kind of hard to see the seam if you cut it properly. So once I have that all on, we are done. That's it. We can go ahead and add our candle and see how the light shines. And now it's time for a shout out, a timeout. So nice, Debbie. More projects from Debbie. So cute. Thank you for sharing. And pretty Laura, these paper maple leaves are amazing. Love them. And wow, Carmen has been busy. These are all so cute. And super Starlene, these are from Starlene's flea market booth. Just wonderful and awesome, Valerie. I am in love with that haunted house. It is such a cute little mini. I would love to give you a shout out too. If you have interest, please send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 3. The Dollar Tree calendars are in, you guys. They have a whole new set of calendars, and I am going to be using the Thankful sheet out of here. You can see they've got a ton of cute little images, and then I'm also using one of these wood rounds. This is from a pack of 3 from the Hobby Lobby. I want to say it was $4.99. I think that's what it was, but I thought it was a really great deal. So I am using my wood glue. I'm just going to squeeze a whole bunch of it out, and then I'm going to use a paintbrush and just spread that out completely evenly all over my wood. You probably could use Mod Podge for this because it was wood, and I figure paper is made from wood. I figured I would use my wood glue, and it worked out really quite well. So I'm using my little squeegee from my friends at Plaid. They sent that to me, as well as my little roller thing that they sent to me to use with my Mod Podge. This is the first time I got to use it. I thought it was really great. And so now I am just coming in with my Dollar Tree sanding block and sanding off the edges to get any excess off of there. I have my Kirkland ribbon from last year that I've pulled out. I love this. I think it's so pretty. Check out your wholesale club for ribbon as we start getting into fall, you guys, because they have the best prices on ribbon, in my opinion. And now I've also dug into my Dollar Tree ribbon stash, and I've picked out a gold ribbon that I am hoping to just pull tight along the edge, which is going to allow it to lay nice and flat along our piece here. So I'm adding glue to the edge of the wood round, and then I'm just going to pull that really tight as I can, and so it stretches the middle and allows the edges of the ribbon to lay flat. So that I'm going to go ahead and trim it off, tuck it under, and glue that down. So I can't tell you how excited I was about these Dollar Tree calendars, so much so that I ordered a case of them from the Dollar Tree. So I have a bunch to give away, and I'm going to be giving away 3 of these particular calendars. All you need to do is leave me a comment and let me know what you are thankful for. What are you thankful for? Leave me a comment. I will enter you to win the Dollar Tree calendars. So now I am just adding some of these cute little flowers. These are also from the Dollar Tree. As per usual, I have cut them apart again. So I'm just trying to line them up in a way that is pleasing to me. And I'm going to come back in and secure them all with hot glue around the top of our little picture, if you will. So gluing those all down. And once I have those all in place, I am grabbing my gold ribbon again that I used to edge our wood round, and I am making a large floppy bow. And I think I had 3 or 4 loops on each side. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 4. So I'm tying it off in the middle, and once I had that all done, I'm going to just make sure it's pulled apart the way I need it, and I'm going to secure it with some hot glue. And actually it looks like I had 3 loops on either side. Just 3. Yep. And now I'm coming back in with my Kirkland ribbon with all those pretty, pretty leaves, and I am just doing a regular loop bow. So it's just a loop that I'm securing in the middle with some hot glue with another little piece of the ribbon, and then I'm going to secure that right on top of that big floppy bow that I had created. I set it down while I still had some hot glue on it, and then just added a little bit more hot glue to make sure that it was nice and secure. I love this. I think it's so cute. So now I'm taking one more little piece of my gold ribbon. I'm going to use it to create a hanger. I just kind of folded it in half and laid the edges flat. And I've got one more little piece that I'm going to help use to secure it, but also to hide those edges. Just kind of creating a loop with it and making sure that it goes laying down flat. And I'll add in a little bit more hot glue in there just to make sure that everything is nice and secure. And that's it, you guys. Let me know what you think. And here we are with the final reveal.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you more than I can say. If you liked the video today, please give me a big thumbs up. It really does help to support my channel. And please leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite project was. And don't forget about that giveaway. All right, until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.